Okay, should we start? On behalf of Saudi Council of Engineers, I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar. Before we begin, I would like to thank Bechtel and Engineer Suliman and also Engineer Rami for their cooperation. And actually today we have a very energetic engineer and enthusiastic. He's a civil engineer and he work in currently he's working in Bechtel company, and before he have he's almost 7 years experience. Civil engineer, graduated from King Abdulaziz University, and he work in Sistra company. It's a French company, and also he work in Al-Muhaidib. Mainly he work in the civil engineering, and we will know more about him and about his career and also his experience during that webinar. And now I will leave the floor to Engineer Rami to give his thoughts about the webinar. Rami, تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rami Halabi. I'm electrical engineer working with Bechtel. Now I'm project engineer working in project management. Actually, I'm the president of the club we initiated like 1.5 years ago called NextGen. NextGen is a shortcut for next generation. The goal of this group in Bechtel, which to empower young engineers so they can be empowered and connected to the community. And part of that is the professional development, which is courses. So I'm glad that we did this collaboration with Saudi Council of Engineers. We started this year, like in February. We did Secret of Success, which our management shared their experience with Saudi Council of Engineers. Then COVID came, so we paused for like 3 or 4 months. Last month we did electrical lecture, and now we are glad to have Engineer Suliman and Engineer Bender, so we can deliver the piling for civil. And we will have also more lectures to share our expertise in Bechtel with Saudi Council of Engineers. So thank you for being here today, and I believe all of us will be enjoying and learning new things with Engineer Suliman. Suliman, I will hand over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks everyone for this good introduction. Actually, today I'm going to talk about a small part of civil engineer, and to be specific, I'm going to talk about piles, which is we can see it in the all high-rise building, and always we are using it in Jubail city, for example. We use it in Jeddah, but not like so much likely we are using it in some a good soil, like for example in Taif, in Mecca, some of the area. They are not familiar with this kind of method of construction. So I have a short presentation. I'm gonna describe all the procedures that we are doing it during the casting, after the casting, prior the casting, and before the drilling, everything. I will give you a small brief. This is a picture. My background is about some of the foundations, some of our sites here in Jubail cities. As you can see, it is a lot of big, like it is isolated foundation, which connecting with the piles. So I will start my presentation. Let me share okay. It is about the pile foundation, drill cast in place piles. This is an overview about my presentation. I'm going to talk about the acceptance criteria of the pile work, general requirement for the drill cast in place, and what are pile foundation, what is the purpose of the pile foundation itself. And also I'm going to talk about the testing of the piles. This testing, it should be carried on after casted the piles. This is some of the reference that maybe you can use it. It is very useful, actually, reference. This is the ACI, American Code Association, ASTM. This is very useful. You can use it in the testing, and you can use it when you are drilling. I will talk in general of use of the pile. As you know, all of you, that this is, or the piles is one of the method for improving the soil. That's mean we have some soil, it is very loose of soil. It is not dense, not rocky soil. So we are using the pile. So the main purpose of the pile is to transfer the whole load from the building to the foundation, and from the foundation to the pile. For sure, we have a big different bearing capacity in any soil in the kingdom. I'm going to talk about the kingdom. And just to make a small hint regarding these things, that's how we know that we have an issue with bearing capacity of a specific land. This should be carried on by some of the soil investigation. As most of you, a civil engineer, you know about these things, that we have to do some SBT, CBT, and a lot of tests that we have to investigate this land, and we have to see, do we have an issue with the bearing capacity or we don't have? Just to make a very clear idea about the bearing capacity, is to avoid the foundation to penetrate or to soak inside the soil or to flip over. This is one of the main purpose of the bearing capacity. This is a general idea about it, actually. Okay, and sure, we have, it is like a deep foundation, transfer the building load, as I already mentioned. Okay, this is actually some requirement. I think it is very important in any pile activities, because actually, if you see in my background, this is the whole area, it was all only piles. So during this activity, it's gonna be a very, very messy site, like a lot of salary, a lot of, and muddy and concrete, and a lot of things that we have to take care. First of all, we have to do a traffic management plans, the TMP. This is to distinguish between the pedestrian, between the trucks, trucks of concrete, bulldozer, backhoe, concrete pump, and the rig machine that it's using the drilling. A lot of things, this is we have to take care, and we have to agree before we start this activity. Actually, one of our requirements here in Royal Commission, Royal Commission, we have to do the method statement. How we gonna work? What is the key personnel that they have to be on site to supervise these procedures? What is the emergency contingency plan? All these things we have to take care. And this is actually, I'm going to talk about the things that we have it in our contract between us as a Royal Commission and our contractor. What we have here, we already have, after we did the soil investigation in our land, we send it to the designer, the structural designer, and they said that we need to do a piles. And they are provide us pile length, pile diameter, because he already have all the load and weight in this building. So after we did that, he asked us for a pile. So what the contractor will do, what we did exactly before we start the real work, we have to do like a test pile. A test pile, like for example, if we have 1,000 piles, this is in our contract. We have 1,000 piles, we have to do 1% of these piles as a test pile only. That I'm not gonna use this pile, it is only for testing. So I will see according to what design recommend to me to do on site, I will do. But I want to make sure this pile, it is really good and it is sufficient in my site. So I will start to do the piles and I will test it, everything. If it's okay, I'm gonna do the design verification. That's mean we have to bring a third party to check about the pile. The pile, is it standing on his place, or is it go for a little settlement? Is it acceptable, this settlement, or it is not acceptable? If it's not acceptable, we have to return back to the designer and we have to discuss with them to check what is the issue. Alhamdulillah, we don't have this issue here in our side, because you know that we have a big safety factor that avoid all these things. So as I mentioned before, by design verification should be provided by contractor. Ground investigation, this is also after we did our piles, we have to do that ground investigation. So we have to do before and after. Shop drawing, that's mean for everything, how we're gonna maintain the cover. The pile log record keeping, that's just a small paper. It should be prepared by the contractor to make sure about exact coordinate, length of pile. This is he has to record it. We already know it before, but we have to make sure so that everybody is following our specification. So and it is include the final length, working capacity, testing, inspection. When we did this inspection, everything. As I mentioned here, we did like 1% of the total production piles, completion of all preliminary test piles. This is the test pile that I already talked about. It is only for test. We will not use it. We will not connecting the foundation. If we want to take it out, we're gonna take it. So it is not useful anymore. Here, as you can see, this steel rebars is we call it the steel cage of the piles. So this is the rebars that we are using for these piles. This is on your right, and for sure it is coated rebars, epoxy coated with approved micro of thickness of coating. So we cannot use a black steel, because as you can see, will be exposed to a lot of things that we don't want to like to have it as a black bars, like for example sulfate and all these things and water and everything. So we have to make it epoxy coated for sure. Actually, we use the concrete C35 megapascal with microsilica for sure for the sulfate on the ground. This is very important. The bentonite slurry is, as you can see it in your left, it is like it is very muddy. It comes with big bags, and we mix it with water with a specific amount of water, and a lot of testing will be done on these things. And this is steel, like in your left. This is steel casing. We're gonna take it out, so we are not using it. Only we are using this casing just to maintain the alignment of the pile, and we know that when the rig or the drill machine will go, it will go very aligned with the pile. We don't want some pile looks like this. And also this is plastic spacers to maintain the cover, and for sure the cover will be 7.5 minimum. So our steel will be very protected with this cover. Here, as you can see, some of our plants and equipment. This picture, this is for some of the piles. As you can see, we are applying some load on it. I'm gonna talk on it later to explain. So this one, you can see my mouse. This is, we call it dynamic load test. This is for pile. This one, as you can see here, this is, we are testing the bentonite. So we want to make sure that bentonite is according to our specification. And let me explain something about the bentonite. Maybe you will ask me why we are using bentonite. Actually, we are using bentonite because of our soil condition is very weak. So to avoid any collapse, like for example, if you drill your pier or your pile, for example, like in half an hour, or you just leave it for 2 days or 3 days. If you drill it for 15 meter, maybe next day you will find it like it will become maybe 10 meter. A lot of collapse will happen, and this is will reduce the length of pile. And when anything happen to our length of pile, this is for sure will fail our pile for any test will be done in the future. This is some of the plants and equipment like rotary drill bricks. This means the drilling machine, backhoe for sure because a lot of removing of clay and debris, everything. Vibro hammer is the machine that we are plugged with the crane to insert the casing, the steel casing, which is temporary. It is not for permanent. After we're gonna cast, we're gonna remove it out. A generator for the vibro hammer, crawler crane, and for sure the best practice for any piles to be a crawler crane, because if you use a mobile crane, it will be a big difficult during this activity because believe me, the site will be very, very messy with bentonite, concrete, a lot of things. So it is better to use the crawler crane, which using the chain. I think you're all familiar with these things. A total station, for sure, we need a good surveyor to make sure that we are putting a good and accurate coordinate of any pile. For sure, these things, it has to be approved before we are starting this activity. Like we should have some shop drawing to approve exact location, where is our foundation. Like for example, I have a foundation, a square, for example. So my piles will stand like this. This is looks like the piles. This is the water is the piles and the mobile is the foundation. So I'm gonna talk a lot of these things. Hydraulic jump and pump. This is using for testing. You can see the picture on your right. Man, he is taking some reading, and this is the hydraulic jack. Dial gauge to check the settlement of pile. This is what we are testing. Marsh cone. This is for checking the viscosity for the bentonite. Sand screen set. This is sand content test because to use all the bentonite, because sometimes the main purpose of the bentonite is to check or to avoid any collapse on the pipe. But if we don't have bentonite according to our specification, believe me, it will be a useless. By the way, this bentonite, sometimes they are using it in some trench, which they cannot have a good slope. To avoid any collapse, they will put the bentonite as a temporary. And this is the limits paper for measuring. Also, we are measuring the pH. So we have viscosity test and density test, sand content test, and the pH. This is only for bentonite. This is some picture. It will give us idea about the pile. I'm gonna just explain what is written here, and also I will be very specific about these things. Pile pouring operation should be performed using the suitable rotary. Like for example, we have to make sure about my rotary. For example, I have a pile like 13 meters length. So I have to make sure that is rotary is exceeding my 30 meters. It is not like 15 meters because it depends on this situation. Like for example, Burj Khalifa, actually our subcontractor, he worked with that project, Burj Khalifa. I think it is the length of building maybe 900, something like that, or 850, you know that they are using the length of pile is 60-meter length of pile. So if I have a rotary machine like 30-meter, it will be useless. So we have to make sure about it. And also, what is the most important thing is the diameter of the rig machine. This rig machine, it comes with head. So the head, it should be like, for example, if I have my piles diameter 800, I have to bring it like 850 or something like that, for sure. It will not be 800, 850. I have to make it more for tolerance, for movement, the casing, and all these things. And as I mentioned, like stabilizer and the casing is temporary, like I mentioned before. Make sure this is a temporary thing. So I'm gonna use it during the casting, but you have to put your under consideration when you're gonna remove this casing. After a little bit of initial settlement, initial set of the concrete, you will remove your casing. This is, as I mentioned, you can see this is the rig machine, and this is the bucket. As you can see it is changeable. So this one is for drilling. Okay, I'm gonna for sure I'm gonna put the casing, and before I will start any drilling activity, I will ask the surveyor, please come and check the accurate coordinate on site. Like, am I right, or I have some issue with the coordinate? So after I'm okay, I will give him a green light. Go ahead for drilling. This auger machine or rig machine, will do the drilling in whole of this casing. So as I mentioned, it can verify all technical information such as pile coordinates. This should be approved by shop drawing, and also the cutoff level. Like, for example, I have to know where I have to do the casting. For example, if I have my pile here, okay, my foundation, it should be here exactly. So I have to make sure. Sometimes what I will do, I will make this pile like this. Okay, I will make it extra just to save my just to save some to avoid any error will happen during this thing. So I'm gonna have it like 1 meter or sometimes like 50 centimeter, and then this extra things I'm gonna cut it later. When I will do that, I will show you some picture how we're gonna do that. So as I mentioned, vertical accuracy of casing will be checked during the installation process. Excavation of the soil inside the casing port. And just to mention it, I don't want to forget it. After we're doing all the drilling and we have our length, okay, we're gonna remove this rig machine and we're gonna change this bucket. We have a cleaning bucket and we have a drilling bucket. And also, just to calculate the length of the pile, I have two ways. One of them, I'm gonna ask the operator, he have already meter inside the rig machine and he can calculate it. He can calculate how many meter I have the length. And the other things, we are always using it, so it is make sure, and it will make me more comfortable about how much length I have in this pile. I'm gonna use a meter tape. I'm gonna put some weight on it and I will pull it down until it will touch the toe level of this pile. So as I mentioned, drilling continue design foundation depth of the refuel level of using auger drilling. Pile length should be per the current construction drawing. Like, for example, I have some area in one side, I have a various length of pile. Sometimes I have 17 meter, sometimes I have 11 meter in the same site and for the same building, but it is a different pile cap. And by the way, we are called the foundation, the pile cap. So verify the final two elevation of the pile. The toe level is the bottom of the pile. We call it toe level. So, and it has to be recorded. Each pile, we have to record everything about it. the toe level, top level, the elevation, where is the cast level, the surveyor, and this is, I'm gonna have it, or I'm gonna provide the contractor the exact cut-off level, the exact toe level, everything. This has to be agreed before we starting. So upon reaching a final depth, loses the press will be removed using the cleaning bucket. As I mentioned before, this is cleaning bucket. I have to remove everything inside the pipe. The depth of the hole should be checked by the measurement. This is, as I mentioned, two-way. Maybe the rig machine, he can have just to save sometimes the operator, supervisor, he will ask the operator, please check this level, depth, and he will check it. And then the consultant, he will come and he will use his method to use a meter tape, and it is better. It will give you an accurate measurement. Here, as you can see, we are, after we drill the pipe, we are putting bentonite, so we will make sure that no any collapse will be done in this pipe. As I mentioned before, during pouring process, bentonite slurry is kept as high as possible so that no collapse will be done. That means the bentonite will hold on the wall of the pipe. No, like any soil, it will not go like this. So it will give it more strong for the pipe. No collapse will be done in this pipe. Upon completion of boring bottom for pipe, cleaned with the cleaning bucket, as I mentioned. So this is what I already talked about it: mud balance, density test, viscosity test, sand content, and the pH. All these is for bentonite only. So I have to make sure about my bentonite. It is very important, actually. This is some video. I'm gonna share it with you. As you can see, this is actually describing the whole procedures. Here in this situation, they have a diameter of 1.2 meter. And for sure, just to make sure, as you can see, maybe someone will ask me, according to what I'm gonna use this casing. Some places, like, let me explain about this project, because it was like 2 years ago. We are using the casing. This is according to the soil condition. Sometimes, for example, I have a 10-meter pipe. So because I have a very weak ground, so I'm gonna use it like 7-meter or 8-meter, because I know the classification or the gradient of this soil, it will be from 1 meter until 7 meter, very loose sand. So it is better to be casing with casing. So I make sure the rig machine will be a very vertical aligned. Starting. So it is not, this is, it is not can give you a good idea about I'm gonna use a short casing or I'm gonna use it. Actually, I work for both. I have one of the project, I did not use any casing because the soil classification was very strong and no collapse will be done. As you can see, here we insert this casing, and I'm sorry for that, but this is the video that I have it. But in this procedure, he did not use the vibro hammer. Vibro hammer is only for inserting the casing. Now, he is doing the drilling. This video actually is only just to imagine what will be done during this activity. So maybe we have some different. Yeah, and another thing I have to mention it, like for example, you can see I start to drill one of these pile, okay? If I drill this pile and I cast it, I couldn't drill like 6 meters next to this pile. Otherwise, I'm gonna disturb my piles. So you have to make sure to leave your pile for minimum 24 hours so that it will be strong enough to sustain any disturbance will be close of it. After we did the drilling, we're gonna insert the roll cage. As you can see, he's inserting the roll cage. And make sure to maintain the cover. It is very important. And the cover will be holding the roll cage or the rebars from the side. So it will be like 7.5 everywhere, centimeter. So everywhere of the pipe. Okay, this is after inserting the piles. Yeah, this actually we have to use, we call it the trimmy pipe. Like for example, if we want to cast some pile, okay, and it is, for example, 17 meter. If we start our pump from the top of the pile, maybe the concrete will never reach the toe level or bottom level of the pile. So we are using this trimmy pipe. Actually, it looks like a straw, like to try to take the concrete from the top until the bottom. And how I will make sure my concrete is reaching bottom, because how I should cast from bottom until reach the top. So I have to make sure that I'm using trimmy pipe more than pipe. For example, my pile is 11 meter. If my pile is 11 meter, I have to use trimmy pipe minimum 12 meter or 13 meter. So when I will use the trimmy pipe, I will hold it with the crane. Here, what's happening with the crane? The crane will take this trimmy pipe and insert it inside the pipe until touching the ground, and then just take it up a little bit so you make sure no fall down with the concrete, because you know that if we use a concrete pump like 2 meter or more than 2 meter, actually we have it in our specification, 1.5 meter is the big height of casting the concrete. Otherwise, a lot of segregation will happen, because pumping like this with more than 1.5 meter, this will cause segregation with the concrete. This is casting the concrete of the pile. Yeah, and by the way, when we are putting the bentonite, we are not removing the bentonite. Don't worry about the bentonite. What you will do when you're gonna cast the concrete from the bottom to the top, this casting will do some replacement of the bentonite. That's mean the concrete will stuck in the bottom and then will kick out the bentonite all of this pipe. Here in this sand, he did not use any bentonite because he have a good soil, so no need. You can see how it is starting. The other things that I already talked about, the bentonite. If he use a bentonite, you will see the bentonite is moving outside. Because of that, we are always testing the bentonite, because if the bentonite was more dense than concrete, bentonite will never go outside of the pile. So because of that, it is very important things that are testing of the bentonite. This is after the casting. This video also will give you some idea about how the pile looks like. Yeah. You can see here, according to what they have requirement for this project, each foundation, a square foundation, it should be with 4 piles. After that, now what he is doing, he is casting the blinding for the foundation, or let us call it pile cap. Okay, now what he did actually, let me just go before. We already casted this pile, okay? And as I mentioned, like you have to leave some some extra length of the rebars. So this extra length, it will be work like a development length inside your foundation. Okay, and actually the good practice with these things, like to leave this part covered with some PVC, so that you will not damage your rebars while you want to connect the pile with the foundation. And I will give you some picture. You can see he already casted the blinding, and now he is reaching the cutoff level. This one, you can see this is the cutoff level. That means the bottom of the foundation will be in this exactly elevation. And you will see they already start the pile cap. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the reinforcement for the pile cap. And after that, he gonna put, you can see this is the rebars for the column that we're gonna use it, or we're gonna use it for transfer the load for the pile cap, and from the pile cap to the pile. Yeah, and let me explain something. Do you know that the pile is sometimes it is like combined? What actually the pile, how it will work? We have some pile, friction pile that all load will be from the friction, as a friction of the pile. We have the end bearing pile. End bearing pile, like sometimes, for example, I have 10 meters pile, okay, and my ground is 9 meter, a loose sand, a very bad soil, very loose, but the 10th meter is a rocky level. So that I want this rocky level, so it's gonna work like end bearing pile. As you can see, now I'm casting the pile cap or pile foundation. And that's it. This is my whole procedures, how I'm transferring everything. Okay. Here, one of our practice, actually what we did, as you can see, this man, I think all of you can see my mouse. He is inserting the trim pipe, and after we have to make sure that it is touching the ground, and then this is the black hole is for the concrete pump. You're gonna put the pump inside the trim pipe, and then when he will insert it, we're gonna start the concrete. But before these things, we have to make sure about the two tests, very most likely in everywhere around the world, that what we have to do with this concrete. First of thing, we have to make sure this is concrete is according to our mixed design. Our mixed design is, for example, what we have in our requirement, the temperature not exceeding 30 degrees, the slump is 175 plus or minus 25. This is according to our specification. And this is a small gauge. As you can see, it gave us reading 45.7. This machine will actually, this is one of the safety measuring on the site. This is to using the illumination on the site. Like we have sufficient light to work at night. Working the pile, you should work day and night to have a good progress. As you can see here, after we casted this pile, this is the picture on your right. You can see the labor is scraping all the concrete, because you can see in the ground a lot of bentonite. How we make sure that it is the pile is fully with concrete? You will see all the bentonite going out, like flooding outside. Until you see the concrete going from here, you will now know that you have a good pile, fully concreted with the concrete. Because of that, you have to make sure about actually the slump. It is very important, because otherwise, if it, for example, if it's a a very tough concrete, all your concrete will be stuck inside the 3B pile. You have a lot of things, and actually you shouldn't be very tolerated about the concrete, because this activity, you will never see anything what's going on. Like, for example, if you have something in the pipe, you couldn't do any repair. It is already done. If it's failed with the test, this is failed. You have to do a redesign. You have to change your foundation. A lot of complicated things will be happen. So you have to make sure about it. This is one of the static load tests. This is the most, it is not difficult, but this test will make, it takes time actually. It takes almost like 3 days. As you can see on your right, this is the hours that we are taking. So this is one, let me explain this from the beginning, the pile load testing. Actually, you can see this is pile size. This is one of my projects I work on. That this is pile size. It is the diameter of the pile length. As I mentioned before, I have 11, 13, 15, and 17. Okay, this is the various length of the pile. The total ultimate capacity. This is total ultimate capacity. Like sometimes, for example, the designer will tell me, for example, this foundation will take the load, for example, like 4,541. So I have an idea about how much the load. So when I will know the load, I will know how to test this pipe. So for example, what I have here, this is the total ultimate capacity. I have to check this pipe. If you remember, I told you for testing the pipe that I have test pipe. I will not use this pipe. I'm gonna get rid of it. So what I have here, the recommended working pipe. That means I'm gonna test this pipe for 4,541, but actually it will work for 1,750. As I mentioned before, we have a good factor of safety, so I will be sure about it. And this is settlement, what will be done. Like for example, the 11-meter pile length, it will settle only 10 mm. If you can imagine, the whole pile will settle only 10 mm. If it exceeds 10 mm, this pile is failed for me. It will not work for my foundation. Otherwise, if we have something happen like this, and thanks God, nothing happened like this in our side, we have to go to engineering to describe the issue, to tell them how much the settlement has been done. Maybe you don't know, maybe you have something wrong with the design, or maybe the behavior of the soil is not like what we accepted. So, as I mentioned, we have 11, 13, and it is various, the recommendation of the working capacity, and this is the settlement like the 17 meter. It is okay. I'm gonna accept it if it's settled like 13 mm, but more than 13 mm, I'm gonna reject it. So this table, you can find it in the ASTM. The reference that I mentioned in the beginning. This is how I'm gonna do with this pile. You can see all these concrete blocks. This all concrete. For example, let me talk about the 11-meter pile. If I want to test 11-meter pile as a static load test, what I will use 4,541 kilonewton. How I'm gonna make all these power or weight? I have to use this concrete block. The whole structural, as you can see it will concentrate on the pile. For example, all this block will sit on the head of the pile like this. It will give the strong. I will give a force for this pile 4,541. So all these things will be transferring with some beams, with some of the I-beam. It will transfer all the load here. So this is this will be like a stage for what's going on with this pile in the future when I'm gonna have my building. As you can see, what I will do the pile, and I have to put some guy to monitor the pile for almost 3 days. They have to be there, never goes anywhere. Like what we have here, we have, if I'm not wrong, there was 3 guys, it is third party. They are specialists only for testing the pile, and it should be third party, not from the contractor side, not from the consultant, third party, approved by the client, that they have all the capability and they have all the qualification to perform and to implement our specification, what we are asked. So how we're going to start with this static load test? We're going to apply 25% of the load. So 25% of the 4,541. We're going to apply it for 2 hours. And then we're going to record the settlement. After this 2 hours, we're going to increase 50, 75 until we reach the 200. When we will reach the 200 of the load, 200 of the load, that's mean the 4,541. This is the maximum. We have to wait there for 2 days, continuous 2 days. Nobody touching the pile, nobody disturbing, not using any compactor next to the pile. So I want to see or to monitor exactly behavior of this pile. I'm gonna leave it for 48 hours. I will check it, keep the recording, and after that, I will do the opposite things. That I will do the unloading. Unloading, that it was, the load was 200. So I'm gonna return it back to 175, and then with 1 hour, and then I will reduce it 150, 25, and then that's it. So it is almost like a 3 days. And I will tell you something. This test, if I'm gonna use it on test pile, I'm gonna reach it until 200% of the total load. If I'm gonna use this pile to my pile foundation, I couldn't apply 200% of the load. Otherwise, I'm gonna do some deformation in this pile. I'm gonna damage it, yani, to be clear. So I have to reach only 150% of the load. Otherwise, it will be damaged. This is other things of the pile testing. As you can see here, you have a small PC. You have to put all of the specification of the pile diameter, pile length, everything. And then he will put some cables. This is like sensor, okay? He will put it in the pile and we knock it with the hammer. This hammer will send like ultrasonic waves and then it will return back. All these things will monitor about my pile. Actually, sometimes as I mentioned before, maybe I had some issue during the casting. Maybe like I used to some a very dry concrete. I have some segregation in the concrete. I have honeycomb. I have any issue. These things will figure out that I have an issue. Also for the just maybe I forget to mention that in the static load test, if the settlement happen, like I have an issue, I have to discuss with the engineering. The conclusion, the pile is not working for my site. It is not workable. So the other thing is checking about also if have any issue in this pile, it will give me. As you can see here, this is the graph of the pile. Here, for this exact graph, you can see the wave starting from 0 and then goes a very smooth until reach like a 27. That's mean after 27 meter, I don't have a pile. That's mean I have okay. But the other one, you can see, this is the good one. In the bottom, you can see how I have defected pile, like I have on, maybe you can see like 16 meter, I have defect, like I have an issue. my waves is not in a smooth line. I have an issue. This pile is failed for me. This is one of the dynamic load tests. This test is very fast, not like a static load. This I will do some, I will put some weight also according to my specification or recommendation of the designer. He will tell me that your load will be like 2000 kilonewton, so I will use 2000 kilonewton. I will not exceeding, otherwise I will defect my piles. I will give you a picture. This is, they call it the dynamic load test. This is like a free fall of the weight on the pile. This is in the bottom is the pile. Okay, and before I will do this free fall, I have to put some sensors also on the pile. I have, why I excavate surrounding the pile, because I already fixed some sensors, like if I'm not wrong, it was like 4 sensors surrounding the pile to check the behavior after the strike of the weight. I have to make sure, and also you can see the yellow cable, but I don't have any picture for the device that they are using for monitoring this test. This is the steel cage that we are using for the pile. And as I mentioned before, this is very, very important to be epoxy coated pile. Very important. Otherwise, the corrosion, the rebars will get rusted because of the sulfate and all these things. And you can see this is the plastic cover. This is to maintain the 7.5. That's mean the radius of this spacer is 7.5. So I'm going to maintain it. And you can see along the pile cage, you can see all these piles, because when I'm going to insert this steel cage, it will circle like this, so it will not stuck. I couldn't use any, and it is better not using a concrete or a mortar cover, otherwise it will get very easily. But this one will give it more wiggy to get it down. And also, maybe I mentioned it before, you can see some PVC in the top rebar. This is why I have to use it. You can see in the left picture, PVC, it is wrapped all the rebars. So when I will reach my cutoff level, I don't need to remove, it will not be difficult to remove the concrete. I will give you another picture. Yeah, as you can see on the left, this in the red line, this is from the surveyor. That's, he told me that this is my cutoff level. So please remove all these top, these things from the line until the top. This is remove it. I don't want it anymore. My pile should be from here, this red line. So I'm gonna use it like this. And as I mentioned, the PVC, just to make it very easy to remove this concrete. And it is good, and the better practice to use the cutoff level is this machine in your right. I will tell you why. Actually, this is a pile, and when you will use a jackhammer or these things for breaking the pile, you're gonna make some disturbance in this pile. So actually, it is not preferable to do that. This is, they call it the pile head breaker. This is will break the pile from any place you want it, but it is better practice. For example, is if my elevation is like I should be like 2 meters, so I have to make give myself like some tolerance. Like I will not break it from 2 meters. I will give myself like 2 meters and 5 centimeters, so that to avoid anything happen. And you can see it is when we use this head breaker, we use it in many times. Like we are not using, for example, if I have the pile, like if I have an extra, like for example, 1 meter, let's say, I have 1 meter and I want to cut it off. It is not good practice to cut it in as a one piece. If you cut it in one piece, it will be difficult to transfer it outside your site. So it is better to take it like it is according how exceeding you have of your pile. This is one of the pictures, like after we remove all this cut-off level, as you can see, it is neat and clean pile in a one line. And just to make more clear about these things, some of the pile cap or pile foundation, it has like 3 piles. Yeah, because it is rectangular. Sometimes it has like 15 or 16. You can see here, this pile is for a big pile cap, a very big. It is for the auditorium, so it is a huge one. So what we use actually, until we reach the cutoff level, we made the blinding, as I show you in the picture. We made the blinding. After that, we apply the membrane. These labels, they are for the waterproofing membrane. You can see the rolls down there. If everything is okay, I have a concrete, so I'm gonna apply the waterproofing. And for sure, we have a lot of specification regarding surface preparation, applying the primer, and then applying the membrane, and then cover the membrane with the protection board. And if I have this, everything is okay. After that, I will put my cover, and then I can start doing the pile cap or the foundation. This is on your left. You can see this is a pile cap. It is exactly like what I show you in the video. This pile foundation, you can see these labels, they are standing on this pile foundation. And down there, I don't know if you can see the labels inside this pile cap. He is preparing some tie wire for the column. So this foundation is for taking the load for this column. You can see the column or the dowels for the columns. So it is only for transferring the load, and that's it. This is when we, in your right also, this is some picture of the crane. This is the crawler crane that I mentioned before. This is, he is taking this steel cage and he insert it in some of the pipe, which is approved by the inspector. It is okay according to our depth. Everything is okay. Bentonite is okay, so we can do it. This is a big picture. This is, as I mentioned before, you can see the blue thing. This is the blue is the repast actually. It is epoxy coated, fully protected from the sulfate. And you can see on the left, in the corner left, you can see some piles. Actually, we was working in parallel, like we are doing the cutoff level and we are doing the pile cap, because we already finished all the testing, everything. This picture, actually, we are using it. This is application, it's called SketchUp. This application is very, very useful for tracking all this pile activity, because actually we have to record everything. Why? Because, for example, you can see here this picture. This is an auditorium. We have like 1,045 pile. So you can imagine how you can track all these pile, that what done and what is not done. What I have here, for example, because I have various lengths. For example, what I did here actually, the yellow pile is for the 11 meter, the purple one for the 15. This is what I did actually, just to make sure about all my piles is on the spot. This is, you can see also some gray color of the pile. That means this pile is not casted yet. This is a very good tool for monitoring the pile's activity. Thank you for listening to me. I hope I transfer some information, a very useful information for you. Yani, I hope, and thank you so much for listening to me. I will transfer the mic to Engineer Bender. Bender, I can't hear you.
الله يعطيك العافية مهندس سليمان. Really, it's an interesting topic, and really you took us in the site, and it was really comprehensive and very powerful, and really it's amazing. Actually, just to summarize the things which I got and I understand, and you took us through the Bentonite and the type of Bentonite, and then you take us through also the testing and type of testing, either it's static or dynamic, and also we learn a lot of things. ما شاء الله يعني ما شاء الله you have a short years of experience, but you have great knowledge and great experience. Just have a small question, Suliman, Engineer Suliman.
Yes.
Now, if we want to, let me say, how can we protect or make the piles more durable in the site?
Actually, this is a good question, because the issue is, if you construct the pile, you cannot check it after a while, like what's happened with my piles, do I have a good concrete, or these things. So because of that, I was insist about the cover, maintaining the cover. Maintain the cover is that to have a concrete surrounding the repairs. I said in the presentation it should be 7.5. That's mean if I don't have any. Sorry about that. You have to have a good space between the steel repairs and the concrete. If you don't have a good cover, all the sulfate, all the water will actually fight all these concrete, and it will be defective. And also, these things, we have to put some admixture in the concrete mix, in the mixed design. We have to ask the batch plant, please, we want some piles. We having some piles, and this is our mixed design. The most important admixture in the concrete, it should be the microsilica. This is for anything, it will be exposed to the soil, you have to use the microsilica, and it is very important.
Thank you very much. It's very nice. طيب. طيب, let's try. If anyone he would like to join us, or if he want, Engineer Rami, is it possible to let anyone to talk if he would like to talk from his from the audience?
Yes, anyone would like to share anything, he can raise a hand, and I can give him the mic.
Let's. Okay, great. I think it will be better.
Yeah, anyone can share any information or ask any question by voice.
Actually, I can see some question here. This is from Abdullah. He's asking, I was wondering, would be difficult to work on site during the rain weather? Actually, it is not difficult, because the site itself, it will be very messy. Like, if you can imagine, you have dewatering working, you have a muddy area, you have a concrete, so it will be like the same. Raining, not raining, it is the same. It is still considered a very messy site. So it's okay, you can work with it, no problem. Thank you for asking, Abdullah. It's a good question.
Any other questions?
طيب يلا let's I will talk in there is one from the audience also. iPhone. تفضل.
You can mute yourself. iPhone.
أنا؟
لا iPhone. He lowered his hand. I think it's by mistake.
طيب Suliman, I'll talk in Arabic. I think it's better since most of the majority of the audience also Arab.
We have some question here. Sorry for that. How common do you guys reject samples? Okay. Actually, I'm not sure about your question. You are talking about rejecting sample. The complete the file. Do you mean reject concrete sample, or you must you are talking about rejection of the file? The file. Thanks God, we did not have this issue in our site, but this is maybe happen in any other sites. I'm sure it is not inside our project, but we have already this in the specification. If any failed in the file, please, we have to do a redesign for this file foundation. We have to check how we're gonna make it. For example, if I have like 4 files of foundation and I have one of them failed, I have to make a redesign. Maybe I'm gonna extend this file foundation. I'm gonna add a new file. This is according to the design. I hope I answered your question. If during pouring, is the soil rock included? What is the middle of this? Okay, actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, we should know about this. We should do the soil investigation. So after we know about the soil investigation, for example, I have to know from the beginning, do I'm dealing with a loose sand, or do I'm dealing with a backfilled land, or is it a rocky land? Because everything will be changed. For example, in the rocky land, I'm not using a fully casing. Sometimes I will not using a casing because I have a good land, no need for it. Sometimes, and even the design of the pile will be changed. Like sometimes it can be end-bearing pile, or sometimes it can be a friction pile, or can be combined, both of them. So yes, thanks. Most welcome. What will happen if the integrity test failed? Should we remove the pile or replace it with another one next to it? Actually, to remove the pile, it is a huge effort. So it is better to be replaced. Because of that, before we are putting the coordinate of the pile, or we have it approved, we have to make sure that there is no utilities. So we have to check the as-built drawing. We have to check everything. I'm sure, I'm confident, I don't have any utilities, not now and not in the future. So it is always, even if it that we have failed by, I'm gonna do one next to it. I'm gonna extend the pile foundation. That's it. I hope I answered your question.
Suliman, actually, when you talk about now or you explain the safety factor about for the piles, it was we are talking about 150 or 200%.
Yeah.
Is it efficient, or do we need that safety factor in that? Or it's only in Royal Commission in Jubail, it's in that specification. What about the local market? Is it the same safety factor or not, please?
Yeah, actually, this specification, or to be about 200, it is very interesting. This is we have it in our standard in the ASTM. Actually, I have the reference in the beginning. I already mentioned that they are saying to use for a test pile, you have to apply 200. A test pile, that pile I will not use it for my building. It is only for checking how is the behavior, the soil with this pile. And for my piles that I'm gonna use it, I will apply only 150%. It is a huge factor of safety, but because you just want to make it right from the beginning. It is not appreciable to do it a redesign or to make something going back there.
Great. I think there's also other questions.
Yeah, here there is after concrete hardener. Do we need water curing for these port piles and how? Actually, we are not doing any curing for this pile because you couldn't do any curing for this pile. You have the exposed pile is only 800. So you're having only the surface of the pile. So it is not efficient to do a curing. But we have a good admixture, and this is according to our design, that they are putting some admixture that it will never need a curing for these things. And it's going to be in the ground. So I hope it is not like what we are thinking, because what we know about our field, we have to have a curing for 7 days. But for the piles, unfortunately, we don't have any curing. And it is already under consideration of the next design.
There is a question before that, Suliman.
Are you applying Saudi building code in the
Saudi building code
and construction phase in your project? Yeah, actually, we are applying the Saudi building code, and according to the Royal Commission, we are applying more than that. So we are beyond the Saudi consult building code. Thank you very much, Engineer Mustafa. During the drilling process, how many kinds you found?
Foundation, it's shortcut.
During the drilling process, how many kind you found?
How many kind of foundation you make? I think he means.
Is he asking for my project, or he asking? I'm not getting.
For soil, he's saying. Naif, if you would like to tell it,
he mentioned for soil.
Want us to open the mic?
Yeah. Actually, my area, it was very loose sand, and it was like only one type of soil, because actually most of the Jubail is backfilled land, so it is almost like it is one type actually. Loose sand.
Of course, different.
By the way,
different sand soil, right? Different soil.
Yeah.
Type.
When the project will finish at the university college?
Inshallah, I hope very soon. Inshallah.
Inshallah. So this picture, it was old, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, this is an old picture, but I just put it because of the.
Yeah.
I want to show the piles.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now we have like 2 floors above this foundation.
Actually, I remember that it's considered one of the biggest universities in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, it is a very huge and very big university.
Yes. And the specification was very high, and there is some sophisticated systems there.
Oh, it is very sophisticated, very expensive system, a lot of standard, and believe me, during the construction in this Jubail University College, it is like a school for any civil engineer to work in this project, a big project. Really, I'm very proud to work in this project. Any question?
For people who don't know that Suliman is still in the site till now. So any question?
Yeah, Sheikh.
Yeah, we have to hit back home. So please, if you have
Allah
a
يكون في
question,
عونك يا رب.
he's still there. The generator is still on. So
Yeah.
I think.
But
Okay.
everything under
I
control.
think with that, I think we need to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Engineer Suliman. Thanks also Rami for your cooperation. Really, it was interesting and interesting topic, and also we gain a lot of information. يعني ما شاء الله تبارك الله يعني you cover everything. I remember before when I joined the sites, and really it was one of the things which I would like to go and go deep in it, the piles and the things which you explain to us, but really it's good to have it and recap nowadays. Thank you, Suliman.
Thank you very much.
And on behalf of Saudi Council of Engineers, I would like to thank you all, and also to you, Rami, and to Bechtel and Next Generation. Really, you are the next generation, inshallah, and you will transfer the knowledge to all the new and young generation in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very
thanks
much.
once again. And if you would like to just to go, to close the meeting, otherwise we'll close.
Okay.
Or if you have any word or anything.
I just like to thank Saudi Council of Engineers for giving us the opportunity to share our knowledge. And just one thing, this video is recorded. This course, I think we'll give it to Saudi Council of Engineering so they can share with everyone later. They already have YouTube channel. So I think if you all can follow Saudi Council of Engineers in Twitter, the link will be shared later for this lecture. And I'm looking forward to do another lectures and share more knowledge and do more collaboration like this with Saudi Council of Engineers. From my side, I'm done. I believe Suliman is done.
We are looking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think he's total lost already. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Thanks. مع السلامة. حياكم الله.